Hey guys. Wow. I'm super excited. I mean, yesterday, last night, at this time, I was sitting in a movie theater watching Shin Gojira and oh my god. This movie. It's just I don't even really know what to say about this movie other than it is amazing. I love it so much, and anyone who hasn't seen it yet, watch this movie. That is my biggest, that is the thing that I have to say to you the most. If you haven't seen this movie, watch this movie. Find a way to watch this movie. Man, I was in your theater room while watching the movie. So a couple of people have told me that they were in the theater with me, and I'm gonna need to know what state you saw the movie in, because that will really dictate whether we were in the same theater. So multiple people have said that they see me in the movie, and then I mean everyone has turned out not to have. So for you who's saying you were in the theater with me, what theater were you in? Where were you? You're about to watch it. Have fun, man. It is, it's awesome. So, I have a couple things that I want to talk about here. This isn't going to be the spoiler review. I'm actually going to save that one for later. It might come out tomorrow. I'm talking to someone else about doing a spoiler review with them. They actually saw the movie in Japan. So, maybe I'll hold it off for a little bit to do it with this other person, but at the moment I'm planning to do it tomorrow or Friday. So alright, what are you guys saying? What theater were you in? Where did you last comment? Alright, I was in the theater right next to you. Where did you tell me where you saw it? It's in AMC 25. I didn't see it at an AMC theater, so that's the biggest disclaimer. I did not see it at an AMC theater. I went to the theater. I was next to guest. I don't know. Yeah, I'm just saying you guys probably didn't see it. I'm in Tracy, California. Yeah. You guys probably didn't see it with me. And if you did, why didn't you come say hi? That's really. Anyways, so I have a list of things I wanted to talk about. Wait, whoa! Am I the only one who hates the new Godzilla look? Oh, I thought you were gonna say the movie. The new Godzilla look, I honestly like. I like it a lot. I think it's pretty cool. So I don't have a problem with it. My tickets cost like $10 per ticket, so it wasn't too bad for a premiere, I guess. Anyways, so here are the things I wanted to talk about. First off, the movie. My general thoughts on the movie, and like whether I thought the plot was a good plot and all that stuff. So, the movie Shin Gojira. I mean, I've been waiting so long for this, and the biggest problem with the movie Shin Gojira, well, there's two big problems with it. Number one was completely my fault. My biggest problem with it was that I spoiled myself too much, so I knew too much of what was going to happen. So that was my biggest problem with it, is that I couldn't get as excited as I wanted to because I knew what was going to happen. So that is just, because this is the first time that this has ever happened where a Godzilla movie's come out. I've been old enough to know about it. I've known it's in theaters, and I couldn't see it because it was in a different country. This is the first time anything like that has ever happened, so now I know for next time I will not be spoiling the movie as much. So for, Skull Island, I definitely won't be getting into spoilers all that much for that movie. For the anime Godzilla, I'm not going to be spoiling myself on that one, hardly at all, hopefully. I kind of want to leave that one to be a mystery until I see it. I will, of course, be doing news updates as we get more info on it, but I will try and keep that one mysterious for myself. And then for other Toho Godzilla movies and even legendary Godzilla movies, I'm going to try and stay out of the spoilers just because I want to be going in fresh next time. But that doesn't change the fact that I freaking love this movie. It was awesome. Now, The other thing that I wanted to talk about, the other problem I had with it, is that there are some pacing issues for the average movie viewer. Now, for me, there was nothing. I didn't find any of it to drag. I found everything to be interesting. So, for those of you who have seen the movie, actually, I want to ask you guys, how many of you have seen the movie? Comment in the chat whenever this catches up to you. If you've seen the movie, tell me, because I want to know what your guys' thoughts on the pacing is, because I feel like that is going to be a lot of people's biggest complaint, is that, there is quite a bit of things that a lot of people have complained about to me. And, alright, so a couple of you guys have. When I was in the theater, someone even turned around and looked at me and said, am I the only one who hated the movie in here? And I told him, yes, it was a really good movie. And he said he didn't like it because it was too much human stuff. And that is the biggest criticism I've been hearing about this movie. I disagree with it 100%. I don't think there was too much human stuff. I loved the human characters. They were really good, really strong characters. They carried the movie very well. But the problem with it is there's a great destruction scene. We'll be getting into it a little later. There's a great destruction scene, and it is followed up by almost an hour of human stuff with no Godzilla. Now, usually that would put someone off. Usually people would get mad, and a lot of people did. But because I understand the allegory of the movie, I understand the message of the movie, I loved the characters, I didn't have that problem at all. I really did enjoy what I was watching, and I enjoyed all of what I was watching. So, I mean, how many of you guys found the pacing to be an issue? I see someone saying the pacing was perfect. I tend to agree. I don't think anything was wrong with it. Yes, this is spoilers, but those will come later. But yeah, I didn't find a problem with it. I actually really enjoyed the human characters, and that is a huge criticism a lot of people have with Godzilla, is that, the human characters suck. It's terrible. This one's not the case. These human characters, like I said, they were good. I really, really liked them. So, better than 2014, that's what you think? I actually agree. I definitely think this one blows 2014 out of the water and into space. This movie is just, it's incredible. So, you guys don't seem to have a problem with the pacing. But there is a lot of downtime, and for people who I saw the movie with, one of them wound up falling asleep during this time. But, I stayed engaged. I was really invested in the story, so that wasn't a problem with me. Now, moving on to the characters, I pretty much touched on them already. The main character, I believe his name is Gucci. He really, I've heard a lot of people saying there is no main character for this movie. I would really disagree. I would think that he is the main character, and then I'm actually going to have to pull up a list because I've only seen the movie once at this point, and so I don't have all the character names memorized yet. IMDb. So here we go. I'm actually seeing the movie again in the next coming days, so I should be good after a little bit. I should get the character names after I see this movie a second time. So yes, Higuchi is our main character. I would agree with IMDb's ranking. Now, Hideki, or Hideki, or however his name is pronounced, I wouldn't consider him the main character. So a lot of people have been saying this movie shifts main characters as it goes, and it's really just an ensemble cast. I definitely disagree. I mean, we have Miss Patterson, the American girl, Kyoko Patterson. She's in there, but she's not in there a lot. I mean, she was in all of the promotional material, it seemed like, which was funny, because she had probably less screen time than Godzilla, and he didn't have a ton of screen time. The Prime Minister... we had a ton of characters in here that I've heard a lot of people saying, this movie is really a Team Japan ensemble cast movie. I would disagree 100%. So I've heard some people saying you don't even have a protagonist to root for. That's not true at all. So there's my thoughts on the characters. They are really good, really strong. The main character, Higuchi, I really liked. I mean, he was smart. He knew how to get things done. He was really in contrast with the prime minister of this movie, and I really liked that. And then them saying he wanted to be prime minister, or that he had a shot at being prime minister, kind of in my mind threw me back to '84, how he had a really competent prime minister who knew how to get stuff done, and in this movie we just absolutely did not. The prime minister, pretty much every time he spoke, the theater I was in started laughing because he had no idea what to do at all. And even if that is a realistic type thing, like in the real world, they wouldn't know what to do. But everyone, including myself, found it funny, and I think intentionally so. I think this is what they were going for, was that he was just so clueless. And when Yaguchi pitches the idea, maybe this is a big aquatic creature, I've seen its tail online, and he's like, that's insane, that's not a thing. And then 2 seconds later, the tail flies out of the water. It was intentionally cut like that, which is another thing I wanted to touch on. This movie has comedy. Now, I've heard a lot of people telling me before I saw it, be prepared, this is a horror movie. This one takes itself 100% serious. It somewhat does. This is not a horror movie. This is a thriller. I don't know what to call it, but it's not a horror movie, and it has comedy in there. And yes, horror movies can have comedy, but this one, it wasn't a horror movie. That's the biggest thing. The tone of it wasn't. It didn't fit. I mean, especially the sound effects may have been a big problem with that. They definitely threw it off. I want to touch on that a little later. But, this was not a horror movie. And I really enjoyed the comedy in it. I found that to be a great touch. Because unlike Marvel movies where they throw comedy in there nonstop to try and be funny, and they're like, hey, jokes are going to keep you invested, this movie, it felt natural. And that's a problem I have with Marvel movies, is that it doesn't always feel natural. But this one, it felt natural. Like, my favorite example of this, I love this scene. There's a scene when Yaguchi, when he finds out about Shin Gojira, or I don't know why I said that, when he finds out about Godzilla, the tail's like flying around outside the water, and then it starts to head towards land. He turns to this table filled with people, and he just shouts orders. He says something along the lines of, we have 3 plans. We can kill it, capture it, or send it back to the ocean. You do this, you do that, you do this. And then everyone at the table turns around and stares at him. They're just like, who are you addressing? And then we cut to Godzilla, and it was great. I love that. And that is one thing that I think really helped this movie, is especially during the slow parts, you were still invested because the characters were interesting. There was jokes going on in there. They were naturally placed. It wasn't too much. It wasn't overwhelming. I really found this movie to be an amazing character movie, and that is something that I've been looking for in a Godzilla movie for a long time. Now I'm reading the chat. You don't want spoilers. I'll update the title because there will be spoilers. There will be coming up, so sorry about that. And actually, the spoilers are pretty much going to start right now. So spoiler alert, for anyone who doesn't want spoilers, anyone who hasn't seen this movie yet and doesn't know what's going on in the movie in terms of spoilers, get out now. Go see the movie as fast as you can. If you live in a different country, I am so sorry. Sucks to be you. Someone will leak it online. And there are some countries, I know Mexico's getting a release. I have a news update that I'm going to work on for that one. Some other countries are getting releases, so I will be sure to mention those as soon as all this blows over and I can get back to, regular videos. So, here we go. Spoilers right now. My thoughts on Godzilla's multiple forms. Form 1 is not seen in the movie. So, Form 1 is actually a microorganism that we find out about. We find out about it from the Glory Maroon, which was a boat stranded at the beginning of the movie. I forget the man who was on the boat, but the man who owned the boat, he actually had a biological map of these microorganisms, and later in the movie it was revealed that, I love this Easter egg by the way, it was revealed that islanders of Odo Island, people who were on Odo Island, actually dumped nuclear waste into the ocean. I guess they weren't the islanders, but they dumped nuclear waste into the ocean. These microorganisms fed off of it and grouped together into what we can only assume would look like a tadpole. And, well, I'm only saying that because of Tadpolezilla was a big thing back in the day when we were trying to figure out what was going on with this movie. But, I'm going to assume that's what it looked like. It looked something like a deformed creature or something. So they group together into this mess, and the islanders of Odo Island actually find out about this. I'm not sure how. I need to go back and see this movie again. Sorry about that. But I'm not sure how. There are some things that I'm going to need to see again so I can, fully understand what's going on in this movie. But they find out about these microorganisms, and they actually give it the name Gojira. Now, the person on the Glory Maroon also gives it an American name, and because Gojira, in Odo Island terms, means a god incarnated, he calls it Godzilla. That's where he gets the god from, and then he just adds Zilla onto the end. That's an awesome explanation for the name, by the way. I love that so much. So that's Godzilla's origins in this movie. So he groups together, and then he comes on land, and now I want to talk about his first form, because, wow, it is, I want to say, the most controversial thing about this movie. From what I've seen, it is the most controversial thing about this movie. And I really have trouble trying to grasp what they were doing with one scene in particular. I'll put the picture up on screen. I have used it before. You guys have all seen it before, but I will put the picture up on screen. You guys probably know what I'm going to put up here. It is that god-awful picture of Godzilla running around, and wow. I mean, the scene is supposed to be serious. You feel it when it's happening. You feel the weight of the situation. There's a giant monster coming. People are going to die. Now, the way it's executed is not good at all. So, this scene, you see Godzilla, and luckily they don't hang on it for a long time, but you see Godzilla jumping around through the street, and the theater just burst out laughing. And I felt bad, because this is a serious movie, and it's just, I was disappointed when I saw this scene because everyone was laughing and they didn't get what was going on. They didn't get the allegory. They weren't paying attention to the serious tones. But, when you see this monster, you really can't pay attention to the serious tones because this creature is on screen and it looks ridiculous. Now, I'm sorry, I think Form 1, or I guess this is actually Form 2, but I think, what's everyone been calling it? I think Eelzilla actually is a pretty cool monster, and I thought it was cool. I posted a video today using all the footage that I gathered of him, and I enjoyed seeing him. Now, this is when Persecution of the Masses plays, and the song is so heavy, and the lyrics are so dark when you listen to them. And then you see these scenes where the Eelzilla is charging towards the camera, and then we cut to another scene of him running around through a street, and then we cut to a scene of him climbing a building, and I made that Shin Gojira's Kawaii video to try and make fun of people who think it's cute. It's not cute, it is just laughably ridiculous. Now, that is not me saying I didn't like it. I actually found it pretty enjoyable, and like I said, I thought it's a cool monster design. I think it's cool. I just think it's out of place for the movie, and especially for the song that plays, definitely didn't fit what was on screen. I mean, I love Persecution of the Masses, don't get me wrong, and I thought the destruction scenes themselves were perfect, but when you actually saw the monster on screen, which, like I said, they didn't hang on it for long. They did actually, cut away. They didn't linger on the shots, so it wasn't like you were getting too much of him, but when he was on screen, it felt cheesy, and everyone in the theater was laughing, and I felt bad because they weren't supposed to be, and it kind of made me a little bit upset because everyone found it so funny. But as a whole, I thought it was cool. I loved when the blood gushes from his neck. I especially love when he's coming up on land and you can see him charging through the river or whatever that is, and all of the debris is going everywhere and people are getting crushed by it. I thought that was really cool. Now, on to Form 2, or Form 3, sorry, Form B, Turkeyzilla. On to Turkeyzilla. So, the scene that got everyone in my theater cracking up was, there's a scene when, and it is admittedly funny, Eelzilla jumps up in the air and he flaps his little stubs around, and then he just comes crashing down onto the ground, and there's a huge plume of smoke, and then he evolves. But the scene when he jumps up in the air and he shakes his little arms around, everyone was cracking up. Everyone found that hilarious, and I did too, because it was quite a bit funny. So now I will get you guys a picture of Form 2 of Shin Gojira, Form 3 of Shin Gojira for the video. Here's a cool picture. Okie dokie. Now, the song that plays when this scene happens, it is a 54 song, and I think it's pretty cool. Boom, there we go. So I think it was a cool choice of song. It was the Godzilla Coming into Tokyo Bay song. And as for Shin Gojira Form 2, Turkeyzilla, it's not Turkeyzilla. That one picture we saw of it resembled a turkey. It's a dinosaur. That's all it is. It's a big T-Rex with a really long neck. That's what it is. I found it to be awesome. I think it looked like a perfect zombified version of the 54 Godzilla, except with a googly eye. And I loved the roar, was the 54 roar. He looks up into the air, he lets out the 54 roar, and then he, looks down and starts going on through this destruction path. It was awesome. This was one of my favorite scenes of the movie, and this was the scene that was the most special to me because I've seen the least footage of Form 2. In fact, this picture is one of 3 pictures that I've seen of Form 2 in its entirety. So it was a really special moment because I had no idea what I was in for. And although he doesn't do hardly anything, he was still awesome. Now, this scene is really cool because we also have a reference to the 54 train attack. When there's a train coming down the track, Godzilla's walking, he steps down, and the train plows into his foot and goes flying. This was somewhat recreated in a very different way in this movie. Godzilla's walking, he takes a step on the track, the train comes, plows into his foot. It's not as drawn out as it is in the 54 movie, but it plows into his foot, and then it just goes flying through the air. Unlike the 54 movie where it just crashes, this one just goes flying through the air. And then it hits the ground, and there's some people standing on some stairs, and it almost hits them. Really cool stuff. So then Godzilla, his second form, he moves through the city, and then he stops, and then he's nearly attacked by helicopters, but he's not, and then he runs away because his back needs to open up because he can't cool himself. Pretty cool. I mean, the Form 2 was one of my favorite parts of this movie. Like I said, the design was awesome. It was super cool, super grotesque. I loved it. Now, the tiny little stubby arms, I was fine with because, he's evolving. I really didn't have any problems with the design at all. I mean, he's a lot more red, sure, that's cool looking. The one biggest problem I had with this movie, in these first 2 scenes especially, is Form 1, or Form Eelzilla, the CG was not good at all. And I give this movie tons of credit because this movie is super ambitious. They had less than 1/4 of the budget of the 2014 movie, yet they did way more with it than the 2014 movie did with its giant budget that it had, even though it was kind of a small budget for a Hollywood movie. It had a giant budget compared to this movie, and they did so much less with it than this movie does. So, the Form Eelzilla, the CG looks terrible. Now, my problem with this form actually comes from the transformation itself. Now, when he's transforming, there's this weird wavy effect that goes over him, and it looked so cheap and so fake, and I hate the way he transforms, because I've said this to Louis Duran, I've said this to some other people. It reminds me of when you take one of those foam dinosaurs, throw it on the ground, and then you spray it with a hose and it grows. You guys know what I'm talking about? Like, I think there's a Simpsons episode when Bart, he buys one of these dinosaur packs, throws it on the ground, then sprays it, and it turns into a real dinosaur, and then he tries it in real life, and it just, barely floats up. That's what it reminded me of. It looked like you were spraying one of these growy dinosaur sponges with water, and it was just expanding. It looked so fake and so dumb. I hated it. And the wavy effect that was going on over it was really cheap. Now, the actual destruction scenes of both of them themselves were really sweet. The music was awesome during both of them. Like I said, Eelzilla really did look out of place for the music, but it doesn't matter. I still think it was great. Now, when Godzilla runs in his second form, I see you guys talking about it in the chat, some of you guys. When he runs in his second form, he actually does run identical to Zilla. I don't think it was intentional. It was just a little like, he's not fully developed, so he can't run up straight. His tail isn't long enough to keep him up. So he like bends over really weird and then takes off, but whatever. Now, moving on to his final form. This thing was awesome. It was in awesome Godzilla form. I thought he does run like Naruto. That's perfect. I thought his final form was just so cool. And then, hold on, let me move my chair, my squeaky chair. Now, I thought his final form was sweet. He does stay in it too long. One thing that I found weird is that he transforms from form 1 to 2. Well, I guess from form 1 to 2 took a long time. We didn't see that process. But from what we know, if someone was able to map out his cell structure, it took a really long time. Now, from form 2 to 3 took hardly any time at all. That transformation, he was in form 3 for maybe a day, and then he went back to being Godzilla. Or he went back to being a new Godzilla, so I guess he didn't really go back, but instead, evolved. It's hard to explain. Now, I'm pulling up a picture of Shin Gojira in his final form. We all know what that looks like. We've all seen it a million times. Where is a cool picture I rarely use? Because I do use these pictures quite often. Here's a cool one. So his final form was really sweet. Yes, the tail was long. Yes, the hands were stubby. But guess what? He's not done evolving. Give him a break. Let's wait for the sequel, and then we'll talk. Now, I thought he was cool. He was all zombified and sweet looking. Even though he wasn't supposed to be a zombie, he was just still mutating, evolving. It was so cool to see. And I love how those openings in his neck wound up being his weakness. The Americans bomb him right in the neck. One of them slips straight through one of the cracks in his neck, and it explodes his back. And then they had a really weird scene. So if you guys have ever seen the Evil Dead movies, or even Ash vs. Evil Dead, you guys know there is an insane amount of blood in those movies. Blood spews from everything, and there is so much of it. And when he gets hit in the neck during his Tokyo attack, the blood goes everywhere, and it is so weird, and it looks like a scene from Evil Dead where it just comes spewing out, and you see it like fountain down onto the street. I thought it was awesome, though. I thought it was cool. That is when he, of course, lets out the super sweet Showa roar, and then continues with his attack. Now, there's not much to say about his final form, because we've already basically beat it to death at this point. How many news updates do I have to talk about the design? Too many. So, at this point, you guys should know, I'm fine with the design. I really like this incarnation of Godzilla. We'll get into the abilities in a minute here. There's one more thing I wanted to talk about. Actually, two more things I wanted to talk about. Number one is the tip of the tail. The bane of my existence for a long time, still to this day, is people commenting on my Godzilla Explained, saying how big of a retard I am. There is a face on that tail. Let me tell you guys now, I've seen the movie, and I've been saying this for a while. I've talked to people who have seen the movie. But let me tell you guys this now. Now that I've seen the movie, you guys can trust me. There is not a face on the tail. That is a design tactic only. This is not a face. It is not once mentioned in the movie. It's not a face. They would have brought attention to it like they brought attention to the creatures at the end of the movie, and we'll talk about that in a second. But there is not a face on the tail. That's enough said. That is 100% enough said. The tail laser itself was not because of... Yeah, you guys are saying about the tail laser. The tail laser was not because there was a face on the tail. I've said this before too. If there was a face on the tail, explain his back lasers. Explain how there could be lasers coming from his back and his spines if there is not a face on his back and his spines. Explain that if you're going to use the face on the tail thing. So, there you go. Enough said about that. There is a scene in the movie when the tail splits in half and it looks like an egg starting to hatch. In my opinion, this is him beginning to turn into his final form, or at least his next evolution. And I know someone's going to make the joke, this isn't even my final form. I've seen it already. Someone's going to make it in the comments. But when the tail splits, it's like an egg cracking, and I'm really confused what it is, but I don't know. I like I said, I think that's the next evolution, and we do see it at the end of the movie. I'll see if I have a picture. I doubt that I do, but hopefully, guys, hopefully I have a picture for you of the tip of the tail with the thing coming out of it, and the very tip, I mean, because, yeah, we've all seen the pictures of the tail where those creatures are coming off of it, but there's a specific shot of the movie I'm referring to, and it doesn't look like I have a picture of it, but there's a specific shot I'm referring to of the very, very tip of the tail, and there's this weird bulb on it, and some people might say, that's a face. It's not a face. It is, I mean, you can look at it again. It's clearly bone of some sort. I'm still trying to figure out what I think it is. Here's my theory. I'll put a picture of the creatures coming off his tail. What my theory is about the tail is that that is the nest where they are growing off of. So the things are coming off of his tail clearly. We see it at the end of the movie, but I do think that that is a nest at the tip of the tail. For those of you who have seen the movie, you should know what I'm talking about. You can somewhat see it. I'll try, oh, that's the wrong image. I'll try and zoom it in as much as I can here, because there is right here, if you guys see, right there, that big circle on the screen, it is a weird bulb thing on the tail, and I want to know if it's a nest. And, you know, sadly we're not going to find out, because Anno said he's not returning for a sequel, but who knows. Hopefully someone can do something to get him back. So anyways, the next evolution's coming off of his tail. I've said it before, I've talked about it before. They look like the Prometheus alien to me. They don't look like some sort of, you know, I don't know, people have been calling it like people. It doesn't look like humans to me. Here's why I know it's not people. Because a lot of people have said, well, Godzilla does eat people, right? Well, maybe the people that he eats go into his tail. First of all, I was wrong. He doesn't actually eat people. So sorry about that one. I was lied to back in that live stream, but he doesn't actually eat people. That's not what this is. And the people, and some people have said, well, maybe it's just not seen on screen. Maybe it's implied that he eats people. It's not implied that he eats people, first of all, but let's assume that he did. The things on his tail are the size of like a T-Rex. They are like 30 feet tall, so that's not people at all. There's no way that people are going to be 30 feet. So I think it's very clear that it is just his next evolution. And that's one cool thing about the ending of this movie, is that it has a really open ending. There is a lot of room to go for a sequel. First of all, we have the things coming off of his tail, which, for all we know, could turn into a Godzilla monster, a Godzilla human-looking monster, a ton of them, a ton of human-looking Godzilla monsters for the next movie, which I would not be down with that unless they had a real Godzilla show up in there, like a new Godzilla shows up, a Shin Gojira shows up, and it is more along the traditional lines and it fights these creatures, but yeah, these next evolutions are pretty sweet looking. I just don't think they could carry a Godzilla movie on their own. Now, a lot of people have been saying this is just like the Angels from Evan. Yes, it is. It is just like them. This whole movie is just like Evan. So it's pretty clear Anno likes to have similar projects or something. I don't know. But my biggest problem with the multiple forms and the evolution is there's a line in the movie when they say Godzilla is an international threat because he can sprout wings and fly country to country. That is retarded. I am sorry, but that is the stupidest thing I've heard in the world. I don't want a flying Godzilla. That is incredibly dumb. If you guys go back to my triggered live stream, which everyone loves to throw at my face that I was mad about this movie, yeah, I was certainly mad about this movie back then. And some of the anger still carries over, as you can tell. I think there's a lot of dumb ideas in this movie, and we'll talk about one of them in a minute here with the tail. But, I mean, I talked about it in there. Someone asked me, does Turkeyzilla fly? And I said, I hope not. That would be incredibly dumb. And if he winds up, if there is a sequel to Shin Gojira, which, let's face it, the biggest, highest grossing movie of Japan of the year, there's going to be a sequel. But assuming that there is, I hope to God that he does not grow wings and fly. I hope that a different Godzilla shows up. And one thing that I think would be really cool is if each of these evolutions coming off his tail wound up turning into things like Rodan, Ghidorah. All these different kaiju could be spawning off of his tail. Who knows? I mean, there's another scene in the movie when some blood cells got scraped off and they wound up growing into a dorsal plate. So it is very clear that his blood and his cells can turn into whatever they want to at any time they want to. And that's one thing that they continually bring up through the movie is that, whoa, Godzilla is beyond human comprehension. He can self-evolve. And dang, that would be sweet if we just saw all these different kaiju spawning off his tail, and maybe one of them turns into our traditional Godzilla. That would be pretty dang cool. I would certainly like that a whole lot more than if we got a sequel with just these humanoid monsters running around fighting things. Now, enough being said about the forms. Let's move on to the abilities. So, number 1, the multiple atomic breaths. I've been waiting for a Godzilla that can do this. I mean, I know we got it in the Heisei series, but I've been waiting for a Godzilla that can pick and choose his atomic breath. That is sweet. I mean, there's a scene in this movie, he's using the red atomic breath. He just all of a sudden switches it to this purple atomic breath. This is during the Tokyo attack. He just switches it to this purple atomic breath and just shreds the whole city. The strongest atomic breath to date. I know I've had a lot of debate in my mind and on my videos about whether I thought this was going to be the strongest atomic breath. I think it's pretty safe to say at this point that, yeah, this one is. Maybe it doesn't have as much brute force as the Final Wars Red Spiral, which is the one I've always been saying is the strongest. But it is certainly the most precise and the most, I would say, strong and focused atomic breath we've ever gotten is this purple breath. It is amazing. And some people have said it already. That atomic breath scene at Tokyo blows the kiss of death out of the water. That's not even in the running for a sweet Godzilla scene after this one. For a sweet Godzilla atomic breath scene. I mean, let's see. The Kiss of Death was cool, alright? Godzilla 2014 decapitates a Muto. Then again, I always found it to be overshadowed by the Heisei series when Godzilla in one shot blows off Ghidorah's head. Now we have this movie with the most spectacular scene in any Godzilla movie ever. I'm going to stand by that opinion for a little while until I decide to change my mind. Now I'm going to stand by that opinion for a little while is that this was the most spectacular scene in any Godzilla movie when he just suddenly uses the atomic breath. It is incredible. I mean, he basically has, I want to say 5 forms of atomic breath. Number 1, I guess 6, if possibly 7. I'll explain. So number 1, his first form is a gas, and he can send this gas through the city. He does this in Tokyo. This huge plume of gas. Now that caused enough destruction on its own. He could have stopped there and then just kept going through the city, and we could have just had this black gas as his first form of atomic breath. But then he ignites it, starting his second form of atomic breath, where this fire just goes through the whole city. Everything explodes. It is an amazing sequence. Then he switches to his third form, which is the purple atomic breath, and that's pretty cool. I'll get the pictures on screen. I just realized they weren't. That is a pretty cool scene. Now you guys are going to see black for a minute until I can get a picture pulled up. Sorry about that. Now when he switches atomic breath, there is a really cool moment when the breath is shifting from red to purple, and it actually is like kind of a bluish color. Not really, but it's kind of. When it's like mid-transition, it's pretty sweet. Now we go from that to this. I was not sighing because I'm mad about this. You guys can see this was a screenshot from Little Monster Channel from back when, because there was no other footage of it. But here we go with the back atomic breath. I don't know why I called it that. The back lasers, or whatever you want to call it. You guys know. It's not atomic breath. It's kind of like the nuclear pulse. Not really, though. And, of course, we got just standard atomic breath. Let me get you guys another picture here. What other? He has so much stuff this Godzilla can do. It's awesome. There's a cool one. Let's put this one behind. Order, move down. Order, move down. There we go. So there's these atomic breath forms. It's pretty cool. There, I'm going to leave that picture on screen for a while. Anyways, so he goes from this red form, he goes from this black gas into this red form, which shoots out into this purple precise laser, which cuts a stealth bomber in half, by the way. That is pretty sweet. And then he goes from that to these back lasers that just shoot up out of nowhere. It is incredible. Yeah, the Pink Floyd laser show. That scene at nighttime was amazing. And the reason I said he probably has 7 forms of atomic breath is because we have, I'm going to count these as 4 forms already. And then we have the tail laser, bringing us to 5. Now, the tail laser has 2 forms of atomic energy as well. We see a fine purple line, and then by the time the tail laser runs out, we see it shooting out more wild, more all over the place, and it's red. So I'm going to count that as 6, and if the tail can turn into a red version, then I'm going to assume that the back can also turn into red if he uses it enough. So that's 7 forms of atomic breath that this Godzilla can potentially have, or I guess just atomic energy, which is amazing. I love it so much. I mean, like I said, I've been waiting for a Godzilla that can have multiple different versions of atomic breath anytime he wants. This one can do it. And this one can look sweet doing it too, because his jaw splits open in half, and it's really weird. It's like a snake jaw or something, and that's one thing I liked about this, is that Godzilla was kind of like a snake. So, I mean, the way they treat him is a lot like a snake. A lot like a rattlesnake. My stepdad pointed this out. A lot like a rattlesnake. So when you want to drain a rattlesnake's energy, you get it to strike a ton. And the final act of the movie is them getting Godzilla to strike his atomic breath a ton. That way he runs out of energy. It's pretty much the same thing. So I think it's pretty cool. It's lagging for you guys. Hopefully that gets fixed. It's not lagging on my end, but if you guys are all having a problem, that's a problem. You guys good? Buy stream. Is it really that bad? It'll be fine. This will go up as a video. You guys are fine. Lower your quality. My quality? Alright, you're probably talking to the other people. Because that wouldn't help on my part. Anyways, this was pretty cool. They get him to strike a ton. He runs out his energy, just like you do with a snake, and then you get it. So that's what they did. They made him use all his energy, and then they pumped a coagulant into him. So that was pretty cool. Now, moving on from that, onto the tail laser. It was super stupid. At least they used it in a really cool way. Now, the idea of a tail laser itself is what I mean. The idea of a tail laser itself is a super dumb idea. In my opinion, it's completely ridiculous, doesn't make any sense, but it doesn't matter. Now, shut up 10 seconds before. It doesn't matter that he has a tail laser, because the way it's used on screen is pretty dang sweet. I mean, I love it. They don't use it too much, they don't use it for too long. When they use it, it's pretty cool. I love when you actually see the bolt of energy shoot down his tail and into the tip of his tail when it starts shooting. That is one of the coolest scenes of the movie for sure. Now, the CG is a little bit terrible here because I feel like they used so much of the budget on that Tokyo nighttime scene that they didn't really have enough to spare for the next day. For the next day's attack. I guess it wasn't even the next day. I think like a month went by in between those attacks, which is one thing I want to talk about, is that this is the weakest Godzilla we've ever gotten, but not other than Zilla. But yeah, the atomic breath is the coolest thing about this Godzilla, 100%. Now, Let's just get into that right now. This is the weakest Godzilla we've ever gotten in history. Simply said that way. The 54 Godzilla could tank anything you could throw at him. It was made very clear that he survived a nuclear blast. The Godzilla from the Showa series survived almost everything you could think of. He survived Mechagodzilla, Gigan. He survived so much crap. Moving on from that, the Heisei Godzilla. He dominates Godzillas. I mean, yeah, he does eventually die, but that's because his body kills itself, so that doesn't really count. He basically gets cancer and dies. Now, so like I said, that doesn't really count, but I mean, it's sweet. I mean, that Heisei Godzilla. Everyone take a moment to just love the Heisei Godzilla, alright? Because I feel like a lot of people have been turning on it lately. I don't get why. Now anyways, moving from there, the Millennium Godzillas, each and every one of them, were way stronger than Shin Gojira. And then finally, the 2014 Godzilla, I hate to say it, could take a lot more hits than this Godzilla could. Now, here's the thing that I want to talk about. This Godzilla is not weak by any means. Here's why I'm saying he's weak. Is not because he's slow and 2014 is fat. It's not because he's kind of chubby in the legs and everyone hates that. It's because he wastes his energy so easily, so fast, and then he goes into shutdown for such a long amount of time. He would not be able to make any ground on any monster that you could think of in this form at the very least. I mean, at least until he evolves again. Maybe his next evolution will be really strong and can do a lot more fighting. But this one can't. I mean, he gets a shot from a stealth bomber and he bleeds. That's something Godzilla doesn't do. Godzilla does not bleed when the military hits him. At least he doesn't die, Zilla, but, you know, he shouldn't be bleeding, at the very least. Anyways, when he uses his atomic energy, he runs out of it super fast, and this is a problem, because if he was in combat with any kaiju, including Godzilla 2014, he would be using this atomic breath on him, and then he would go into shutdown, and he'd get himself killed. So, I think, quickly, a little versus thing here from what I used to do. What I think would happen in this version of the fight, there's two ways I think this could go. Number one, Godzilla could, I don't know what I'm trying to think here. 2014 could go in and get him up close, some close hitting attacks, you know, like we all know he is not an atomic breath fighter. 2014 is a melee fighter. This Godzilla is not. He'd get destroyed. So, if 2014 gets the upper ground on him right away, gets up close, he can beat the crap out of him. Now, Shin Gojira, if he was to use his purple atomic breath, I think he could actually do a hell of a lot of damage to Godzilla 2014. I'm pretty sure the purple atomic breath would be capable of slicing through 2014's body. Now, if he was able to use the purple atomic breath out of his mouth, out of his back, and out of his tail enough, I think he'd be able to kill 2014. But the problem is, he would run out of energy before he got the chance. He would be killing 2014, go into hibernation. 2014 would be able to sleep it off. The next day he'd get up and kill Shin Gojira. That's how it would go, which is a really sad thing because I was rooting for this Godzilla. But until he can evolve again, he can't put up a fight. And it definitely stems from the fact that he can't fight up close. Yeah, he's got that massive tail, but he doesn't use it for combat unless the laser is coming out of it. I don't think there's one point in this movie when we see that giant tail do anything destructive other than when it shoots a laser. So, there you go. Sadly, 2014 would probably take the fight. Moving on to the possibility of a sequel. I think this is an incredibly high possibility. The movie leaves off on a super open note. I mean, it starts out we find out Godzilla is a thing. He has multiple forms. He comes on land in his final form. He's going through destroying things. They find a sample of his blood. They find out that the blood can morph itself into whatever it wants to because they find the blood and it actually turns itself, I've said this just a couple minutes ago, it turns itself into a giant dorsal fin of his back. Pretty cool. Now, that means that it was probably going to grow its own Godzilla. That is so cool. So, if his cells can grow new Godzillas, and he was spewing blood out of his neck at the beginning of the movie, there's got to be more Godzillas somewhere. There's got to be more mutating. Not to mention the things coming off his tail, even though their progress was halted, even though they're not developing anymore because they pumped coagulant into him, those things were proof, case in point, that there will be more Godzillas. So, I think what's going to happen in a Shin Gojira sequel is that there's 3 ways I see this going. Number 1, a new Godzilla shows up due to some of the blood from the first Godzilla, and it starts wreaking havoc, and the original Godzilla from Shin Gojira is just dead. He's just, he's not dead technically, but he is out of the picture. Maybe they nuke him, maybe the new Godzilla shows up and kills him when he's frozen. Who knows how that would go. But I think either A new Godzilla is going to show up, B, the things on his tail are going to jump off his tail, morph into new Godzilla creatures, and then go on another rampage. Or C, and this is kind of the one I'm rooting for, this is the one I'm hoping for, Godzilla, something happens with his tail, maybe the end of it just cracks off and it falls down, and that's that. And then Godzilla wakes back up, continues his assault. I'm either rooting for that one to happen, so I want either this Godzilla to be the Godzilla from the next movie and just continue his attack. Maybe he evolves again and is more of a traditional Godzilla who can't be defeated as easy, and we find out that the things on his tail were actually because he ate people or something along those lines. Or the first option, which was a new Godzilla shows up. I would want it to be more traditional, and then maybe he shows up, destroys the remnants of the Shin Gojira, and now we're following a totally different Godzilla that was spawned from the original. That is not unheard of for Toho to do. For those of you who know, Frankenstein Conquers the World was the movie that came before War of the Gargantuas, which had a very similar plot when you really break it down. Frankenstein Conquers the World, there's a creature that has multiple forms, technically, and it grows into a giant kaiju, goes on destruction, and then is defeated at the end of the movie, but some of the cells come off, leading to the sequel, War of the Gargantuas, where 2 completely unrelated monsters show up and start destroying things, and they were just spawned from the original. I could see that happening with Shin Gojira. I could see Godzilla just being stuck in the city, stuck frozen, a new Godzilla showing up and either fighting that one or just killing him straight off the bat. That is how I see this going. And no, I don't think he'll grow wings in the sequel. I think that was just thrown in there to show that, yes, first of all, he's still evolving. Number 2, he is an international threat, and this is why America is doing what they're doing. So, that's my thoughts on that. Now, pretty much wrapping it up here, my problems with Shin Gojira, there were a couple of them, if you guys couldn't tell by now. I think the purple butt lasers were pretty stupid. I think the tail laser was a dumb idea. I thought it was executed very well, but in concept I thought it was a dumb idea. Number 2, the pacing, I think, is a problem for your average moviegoer. It's okay. I didn't find it a problem at all. I loved this movie. I loved the pacing. I loved everything about it. But I can see the problem that a lot of people would have with this being the pacing. Number 3, my problem with this movie, Godzilla's too weak. I mean, we see him bleed from a missile, of all things, and, he goes into hibernation for a long amount of time, which, although I thought it was a good way to take him out of the story for a little while, I do think it's kind of dumb. And those are all the problems I can think of off the top of my head, so there you go. Now, the things I liked about this movie, my final thing I wanted to talk about, my things I liked about this movie, everything else. The music is perfect. This is some of the best music I've heard in my life. Persecution of the Masses is my all-time favorite song. I've listened to it more than I've listened to any other song. I've played it on piano so much. I'm trying to perfect it so much. I mean, you guys heard a somewhat version of me playing it on the piano. Yes, it was very edited, that video that I released today. But that is a somewhat version of me playing it on piano. the rest of the soundtrack is amazing. We get Ifukube music thrown in there, and Ifukube is the best composer, the best musician, I would argue, of all times, even though he's not technically a musician because I don't think he played anything, but he produced the best music of all times. And although I said Persecution's my favorite song, the Shin Gojira album as a whole is not. I really like all the other Godzilla music. I like Godzilla music. I like the two things that I've learned about myself in the time Shin Gojira's album came out for me, which, sorry about this, I don't think I've ever mentioned this before, but I got the Shin Gojira album like 4 months before it was released in America, and I got it for free. So, sorry, I don't think I ever talked about that before, but I was contacted by someone who basically said, yo, I got the Shin Gojira CD, do you want the music? And I said, yeah. And so, there we go. Now all of a sudden, I had the album, and I've had it for a long time, so sorry I never mentioned that. Anyways, the music is amazing, but it doesn't really compare to the Ifukube soundtracks. Yes, Persecution, I would argue, is one of the best Godzilla songs ever, although I don't think it's the best. It is just my favorite for the meantime. My favorite one's probably the main theme from Mothra vs. Godzilla. That's probably my favorite song ever. But anyways, this album is just amazing. And then the special effects are incredible for the budget they had. The story is awesome. The characters are great. The allegory is there. And it's got a powerful message. These are all things that the original Gojira had that this one has. This movie is amazing. I really recommend it for every single person in the world. That's a lie. That's not true at all. Don't take that as true at all. The people that I would recommend this movie for, number one, Godzilla fans. If you're even a casual Godzilla fan, go check this one out and find out what Godzilla is all about. Yes, you should probably watch some of the originals first and get associated with what the character should be before you go and check out what he is nowadays. But if you're a Godzilla fan, go check this movie out, even if you're casual. Number two, the people I would recommend this for, those who like allegory, those who like movies with messages. If you know about the tsunami allegory, if you know about the political aspect of Japan, if you know about the bureaucracy, if you know about all this stuff, go check this out. If you're interested in the politics of the Defense Force, this movie does a really good job at showing how the Defense Force works in Japan. This movie, for people who love allegory, go watch this one and go watch the original and go watch 84. That's my recommendation. And if you want, throw in the original King Kong. That's got quite a bit of allegory in there too. Then we got some other stuff. What else is perfect about this movie? That's really the best way to word it. What else is perfect about this movie? Because there's some stuff in there that, like I said, I don't like. I don't like the tail laser in concept. I thought, like I said, the execution was good. I don't like the first form we see because he does look too goofy and he's off-putting. I don't like the use of Persecution of the Masses. I thought it could have been used at different points better, but that song is awesome. Guys, go see this movie. If you've seen it already, go see it again. I'm going to see this movie as soon as I get a chance, whether that be tomorrow night, the night after that, I don't care. I'm going to see this movie again, and I'm going to see it in theaters again. That is what I'm going to do. And then, when someone leaks it online, I'm going to download it, and I'm going to watch it again. And then after that, who knows? Just read the description a little late for 1954 subscribers. Thank you. That's been there since I hit 1954 subscribers. I've had that on every stream I've done since then. So it's not late. It's just I'm not going to take it down. I was actually thinking about deleting it today, but I'm not gonna, because that was the milestone. That was my goal for my channel, was to hit 1954 subscribers. So I'm going to stick with that. Anyways, guys, that is pretty much all I had to say. So if you guys want to send me any questions about this movie, go ahead and do it now. I'm actually going to be taking a couple second break, so give me like a minute I'm going to get a drink, and then we will continue. We will have I don't know, a short little Q&A. I am going to be going to sleep here pretty soon, so see you guys in a minute. I'm going to do this really fast. Sorry about this. I know this sucks. I'm going to play an ad, but I need a drink of water and I need to cool down for a minute. I'm like Shin Gojira. I need to cool down. So I'm going to do this really fast, and then we will get into the questions. Alright. I don't know when the ad will end. Tell me when the ad ends. Yeah, sorry about that. Is the ad over? Guys, I can't see the stream. It won't show me. It won't show me what it looks like, so I don't know. I'm sorry. But any news on the NECA Shin Gojira? Were you going to freeze? Yeah, I was gonna freeze if I didn't drink. The ad definitely showed up because it popped up saying the ad showed up. Alright. So I can't see any ads. It's okay. Were you disappointed the movie was not a horror movie? Absolutely not. No. Yes, I want a horror movie, Godzilla movie, but we haven't had one since the 54 movie, so I'm completely used to it. I got my excitement. I got my hyped up when 2014 was coming out. I thought that one was going to be a horror movie, solo Godzilla movie, and it wasn't. Not at all. So I didn't get my hopes up at all for this one either. When people said, yo, D-Man, this is a horror movie. This is a horror movie, Godzilla movie. I was like, ooh, that is pretty cool. And I didn't get my hopes up. I didn't think it was a real thing. People said it was a horror movie. My definition of horror is like a slasher flick. I don't think that this movie would be a horror movie, and it wasn't. Let's see what else you guys are saying. I have an idea for a film based on Attack on Titan. You've got Final Wars similar to The Matrix. That'd be certainly interesting. 54 was kind of a horror movie. It's considered a horror movie. That's what it is, because that's what it was at the time. Do you like the destruction in the movie? Oh, I love it. I love the destruction scenes in this movie. This movie had some pretty cool scenes. I mean, his attack of whatever city that is was awesome. And then, you know, you guys know what city I'm talking about, right? When he kicks the bridge up into the air and it lands on those tanks. That city. That was an awesome scene. The angles in this movie were they were the most ambitious, the greatest visually, I don't even know what to say. This was the most visually grand Godzilla movie ever, and the destruction scenes really showcased it. Alright, what else are we talking about? Talk about NECA. Oh, jeez. I'm going to make some people pretty mad here. Talking about the NECA Shin Gojira. I'm sorry, guys. I hate it. I really, really do. The NECA Shin Gojira, my problem with it is the face looks nothing like Shin Gojira. There is zero resemblance. It's completely off-putting. I think it's too fat. I get it. They were trying to add more articulation in there. That's a commendable thing to do. You know what you do? You buff the size. You don't keep it scaled down to the same size as all your other figures. You buff the size if you want to add articulation. Or you go the Monster Arts route and you find a way to make it work. But no, the face sculpt on this one really throws it off. It's too fat and well-rounded. Shin Gojira, as we all know, is a bowling pin. He's not a big buff Godzilla. I don't want my Shin Gojira figure to be big buff, but sadly it is. The hands. This is a big problem I have with the NECA figure. The hands are not upturned, and I know some people might be like, yo, you're nitpicking. I don't know why, but that's one of my favorite aspects about Godzilla in this movie, is that he's got those upturned, like, messed up, like, mangled looking hands, and then the NECA figure's just got his down to the side like any other Godzilla. Why would I want that? I could have any other figure and have the same thing. I want mine to be different. I want it to be cool. I want it to be the Monster Arts figure. That's what it comes down to, guys. I probably don't like the NECA figure First of all, because it looks too similar to the Sega figure, and that's just sad. Second of all, because I was so excited to get the NECA figure, and I missed the pre-order. I was like a day late on the pre-order, and it was sold out, and then it updated and said it's not being sold in America. And I found a copy of it. I found like someone reselling theirs for over $200. I was prepared to buy it, and I missed that one too. So I'm pretty salty about that. So hopefully someone will post it up for like $200 again, and I will be able to snag it this time. But until I get this Monstars figure, I don't think I'm going to be buying a Shin Gojira figure. Other than the forms A and B, I am definitely going to pick up the Monster Arts ones if they are coming to America. I'm holding off on getting my Bandai Creations versions until I find out what the Monster Arts one's doing, because, let's face it, Bandai Creations is like terrible to Monster Arts. Bandai Creations is basically like you put together a Play-Doh model and you're like, look, it's Godzilla, and then you buy an actual Godzilla toy. That's pretty much the comparison. Anyways, release date on NECA early next year. That's all I've heard. NECA Shin Gojira will come out next year. Yeah, that's what I thought. People preferred Buff Godzilla. I didn't. I think it's cool the way he looks in this movie. Oh, now call Godzilla Stumpy. Okay, what's your favorite part of the movie? Okay, my favorite part of the movie. My favorite part of Shin Gojira, this one's hard for me to decide, because there were a couple things that I really liked about this movie. Like I said, the most special part of this movie for me was the second form's attack, when he turned into that red Turkeyzilla and then ran around through the city. That was the most special scene of this movie for me, because I had no idea what I was in for. But I tend to agree with you. My favorite scene of this movie was definitely the nighttime Tokyo atomic breath scene. That scene was so cool. And I said it earlier, that's the most spectacular scene of any Godzilla movie that I've seen, excluding the best scenes of Godzilla movies that I'm just not thinking of right now. But at the moment, from the ones I can remember, this is the most spectacular scene. The coolest reveal of any Godzilla movie ever, that's for sure. Moving on from that. What place do you give this movie? What place would I rank this movie? That's interesting. So I'd have to really watch it again and compare it to the other movies. At this point, I would say it's probably in my top 15. I don't know if I'm going to put it in my top 10. I mean, I've got movies like King Kong vs. Godzilla is unbeatable. There's no other Godzilla movie I will like in history more than that one. Gojira, this one's definitely not better than that. Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, the original, I love that movie. I don't think this one's better than that one. I don't know, maybe this one would go in my top 10. I really think that it would 100% be in my top 15. I don't know if it'd make it in my top 10, but this one's a good one. This one's a really good one. What else are you guys saying? D-Man, what about the Band Presto Godzilla statue? My problem with the Band Presto Godzilla statue is that people are selling it for like $600, so that's the problem. People know I hate Bowling Pitch. Gojira for the buff Godzilla. I disagree. I think this I think he's perfect the way he is. What else you guys saying? Is this second favorite Godzilla? No. Nighttime shot better have. Yeah, the nighttime shot. What would have made better effects? I'm not sure what you're trying to say, actually. Tokyo Gojira, I don't know about that one either. Oh, that line too. That one was the most forced, funniest line of the movie. When they appoint a new prime minister and it's an old man, and they set down a bowl of noodles on his desk, and he like touches the noodles or whatever, and he just says something like, I knew Prime Minister would be a hard job. My noodles are soggy," and then it just cuts away. That was a funny one. I really like this movie, guys. I really do. It was so funny. Like the scenes that had comedy in them, they had me laughing. And then the scenes that were serious and dark in tone, they had me like heart pounding, really into it. And then when Godzilla's Form 1 came on screen, all of a sudden I was confused about what I should feel. Anyways, what else have you guys been asking me? What is your favorite atomic breath stage? The black fog, flames, mouth beam, or tail beam? Or back beam? My favorite atomic breath form is by far the purple breath laser. That's the coolest thing I've seen in the movie. I mean, the way it just shreds through Tokyo. He doesn't even stop. He just like looks forward, shoots it out of his mouth, moves his head, and Tokyo's gone. It's amazing. What else are you guys saying? How long has it been since... that's another funny line. How long has it been since you changed your shirt? It smells rank. That was hilarious. They get him a new shirt, too. God, this movie... I need to see it. I need to see it again. I need to. Piercing my ears. I'm not sure what you're referring to. I believe you're referring to the movie. Was piercing your ears? I hope the stream's not. Yeah, that's... I think it might have been you I commented to. Someone asked me about this, or I mentioned this to someone. The movie's audio in my theater was just on steroids. It was ridiculous. I mean, when things were happening, when Godzilla was roaring, my ears were ringing. It was so loud. Even though I did appreciate it because it felt like I was experiencing it more, wow. There's such thing as volume control, and they needed it. What's your reaction when the third form roared the 54 roar? I knew it was going to happen, but it was still incredible to see. And my favorite part of the third form's assault is actually when he turns around to run back into... He turns around to run back into the water. He lets out one last 54 roar, and you can see, like, the membrane on his mouth is flapping, and you can see the wind flying out of his mouth, and then he turns around and books it for the ocean. That last clip of him roaring was so cool. I loved it so much. Is he reading older comments? That should answer your question. No, I'm not. I'm not reading older comments. I'm keeping up to date with you guys. When his back lights up, the whole theater got lit up. True. Is he reading older comments or is my stream behind? This should answer your... Oh, okay. Alright, we're good. You answered your own question. Hey D-Man. If they do, you think... How do I think they do other monsters? The same way, probably. Probably, just more mutated, messed up looking creatures. What's up, Daikaiju Tony? Should Shin Gojira have a sequel? Yes, it should. This story is not resolved. And it definitely ends on that note when our main character, Yaguchi, and Kyoko? Is that her name? Kyoko. When Yaguchi and Kyoko are standing up on that building, and she mentions how she's going to be president of the United States, which, hey, I'm down to vote for her. She's going to be better than Trump or Hillary, confirmed. But when she's up there, and she basically says, when Godzilla comes back, when he wakes back up, and it will happen, the nuclear countdown will begin again, and I can't wait to see that happen, because this movie, Shin Gojira 2, if it happens, and I hope it happens, it should be incredible as well. And it should have more of a budget, probably more time to work on it. I just want to see where it goes. I want to see what Anno is going to do with it. And like I said, I don't want him to fly. You guys know how I want the sequel to go, but God, I really want to see where this story goes. The lifetime of the radiation was 20 days, which meant Tokyo would no longer be radioactive after 28 days. Answer that question. I'm not sure what question you're trying to answer with the whole 20 days thing. Are you going to see the anime Godzilla in 2017? Yeah, of course I'm going to see the anime in 2017. Yeah, it's first of all, it's going to be another Japanese movie, so that should be sweet. But second of all, it's Godzilla, so I'm going to see it no matter what. Someone's spamming the chat, that's for sure. We like already know the ending. These tale are giant god warriors from Neka Valley of the Wind. I cannot argue with you, Daikaiju Tony, because I don't watch enough anime to know what you're referring to. Will Shin Gojira have a new form if the sequel happens? Yes, he will have a new form. They make that very clear that he's not done evolving and that he's going to continue evolving. So, I can't wait to see what happens. I like how the laser shot was silent. I don't know what you're talking about. Silent. There was music playing and everything. Wait, I hear Anno is not returning for Shin Gojira 2. No, he's not. At the moment, he's not. There was an interview with him where he was pretty cryptic about it. He basically said, I'm not coming back. It's not my place to decide. I'm paraphrasing here. He said, I'm not coming back. It's not my place to decide. It would be more interesting if they hire someone new to direct everyone. Toho won't let me come back. So he basically shifts the blame quite a bit between it's him and Toho who's not letting him come back. But I really hope that Toho goes, wait a minute, this movie's making money. People are liking what happened in this movie. I think the stream just dropped. I don't know what just happened, guys. There, let me ask you in chat. Did stream drop? That's not good. Is it back? Rip stream. Yeah, sorry about that. I just watched it cut. Yes, it is. It's back. Alright, that's good. It's back. Okay, so. Anyways, what I was saying. Basically, I hope Toho goes, wait a minute. This movie's making money. Anno, you did good. You want to come back. Here's some money. Please come back. And I hope he does. I really hope he does. Because, God, I want to see what happens. This is so interesting. We've never had this different of a Godzilla movie before. And we've certainly never had a director like Anno taking it on. And I want to see where it goes. I want to see what else he can do with it. So, lol, 54 viewers. It shows for me 57. But, 54 would be pretty cool. Yeah, it shows for me 57. Do you like or dislike Godzilla's shot and was bleeding? I hated it. Godzilla shouldn't bleed when the military hits him. Simply said. When Tokyo was on fire from the sky. Yeah, that was pretty cool too. When you could see that aerial shot and it was just like this big red fire circle. My cat is trying to eat my Monster Arts figure. No, that sucks. Get your cat away. The music in the theater was so quiet. Yeah, it was. They definitely didn't utilize some of the songs, that's for sure. Oh, the blood. Yeah, Ash vs. Evil Dead kind of blood. Evil Dead kind of blood in general right there. That scene, like, they shoot him in the neck, and it, like I said earlier, it fountains through the city. It's ridiculous, but it's pretty cool to watch. Godzilla 2014 vs. Shin Gojira. You clearly weren't listening through part of the stream, or you weren't here at that point, but when this goes up as a video, you will be able to find out my full thoughts on that. Godzilla should only bleed from other monsters. Agreed. Unless they got Gigan's buzzsaw or Mechagodzilla's laser eyes, he should not be bleeding. Anno and Hideaki Anno made a short film called Giant God Warriors when they opened a Takumiseum. Interesting. I didn't know that. Why'd you say rip stream? It's not gone. Oh, you said never mind. Never mind. Uh, anyways, guys, we've been going on for an hour 30 minutes. I need to go spend some time sleeping because I basically haven't for a long time. So I'm gonna need to, just not. So sorry about that, guys, but I'm gonna bring this stream to a wrap. So sorry. I know, soggy noodles is killing me, guys. I cannot believe that his noodles were soggy, and he was the prime minister. So that should just show you that people don't love their prime ministers. Would this be considered a reboot? Yes, it would. Most certainly would. I'm not gonna leave just yet. I'm gonna give it 5 more minutes, and I'm gonna leave. I'm actually gonna. Yeah, I'm gonna take another drink. So sorry about this for a second. For those of you guys who couldn't see the ad, I'm sorry. You guys just gotta sit through silence for a minute. Turns out talking for an hour and a half kind of kills your voice, you know what I mean? Oh, what's up, Godzilla 1454? Soggy noodles, that's for sure. Soggy noodles. This movie took place with Trump or Clinton in control of the U.S. Army. Well, if this movie took place with Clinton in charge of the U.S. Army, a lot of the soldiers would have died worthless deaths. And if this movie took place with Trump being in charge of the U.S. Army, they would not have aided Japan. They would be too busy kissing Putin's butt and going and attacking Mexicans. Anyway, Sadie, man, I like the blood. It is me, Godzilla, super pissed off. Yeah, it did. It got him mad. That is why he used his atomic breath, is because he got hurt, which is honestly pretty cool that, Godzilla shows emotion in this movie. Sometimes Godzilla doesn't show enough emotion, in my opinion, but this one did, and it was pretty cool. Soggy noodles is the new meme. If you want to make it, you can do whatever you want. What else you guys saying? Bernie Sanders for president. No, I'm saying, what's her name? Let me look. I would be voting, if I was 18 already, I would be voting Kyoko Ann Patterson as our president. She was the girl from Shin Gojira who mentioned it like at least 30 times in this movie that she wanted to be president, which is kind of funny. By my friend. Let the laser wars begin. Alright, let us see your face. Alright, if you guys really want. I don't know why you would, but if you guys honestly need it. Hold on, give me a second to turn on my light. And then, face cam. Oh boy, I love the face cam. Boom, 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 still layered. But, oh, there you go, there's my face. You don't need face cam when you got my face. Is this it? No, it's not. That's not the video. No, never mind. I don't know what that was. Let me get rid of it because it's worthless and it's taking up space. Video capture device. Where is it? Here we go. Face cam now. Demanding, dude. This is rude. Are you happy? Do the D-man pose. What is that? This? I don't know. I don't know what you want from me. Because like this cut on my nose hurts pretty bad. Bleeds a lot. It's like a scab or something. How big are Godzilla shirts? They can be big. The one I'm wearing in that picture on screen is pretty big. Soggy noodles versus exotic butters. Alright. I don't know why you wanted the face cam, but you did. So here it is. We want your soul. Solid. Why do you want me to do a birthday or Christmas present unboxing? If you're referring to that junk in the background, I know what's in it. That's all open. It's just I have not taken care of it at all. So, you have a nice room. Why, thank you. It's pretty dang messy if you ask me. I mean, I got a pretty messed up bed right there. Back there, I don't even have a closet door, so... And then you got my backpack and crap, so... I don't know. Why do people ask for face cam? Anyways, good question. I don't know. But that's enough of that. So, thank you guys for watching. D-Man is done with face cam. I clicked the wrong button. Hold on, give me a second to reset. Alright, there we go. Now this one will work. D-Man is done with face cam. There we go. Boom, boom, boom. 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 I'm done. Alright, clean your room. Room's not that messy. It's just... I don't have a closet door, so it looks more messier than it is. And yeah, messier is not a word, but I used it like it was. Anyways, guys. I'm done. We've had a good stream, so... sorry for anyone who wishes it to continue. I'm pretty much done with the day, and I'm gonna go to sleep. One more question, I guess. Will you make a Godzilla collection video? I have a Godzilla collection video, I just haven't posted it, so that should answer your question, is that someday it'll go up. Just because I'll have 8 more minutes of screen time. Does this Godzilla have more than 8 minutes of screen time? I really can't say. I don't know, I didn't time it. I would assume between all 3 of his forms that we've seen, and all the times we see him stationary in the background, he does have more than 8 minutes of screen time, but in terms of 8 minutes of actual Godzilla destroying things and moving around, I would say no, he doesn't have more than 8 minutes of screen time. Like I said, in total, all the forms, and... all the times he's stationary in the background. Because when he goes stationary, he is in the background of the movie quite a bit if you pay attention to the close details. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, I would say in total, he probably has more than 8 minutes. But doing stuff, no. There's no way in the whole world that he does. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. As always, I always play music at the end of the stream. So let me get some music up for you guys. I'm just going to play my piano cover again. So let me boot up the... There we go. The video's loaded. There we go. So, anyways, guys, thank you guys all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Is it mostly CG? It is all CG. There are practical effects in there, but Godzilla himself is suitmation. Anyways, guys, I'm done. No more questions. Sorry. Thank you guys all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. See you guys next time. D-Man out. Enjoy the piano cover. By the way, guys, for anyone still around, let me do this really fast. Freaking video capture device again. I'm gonna not be in the shot this time, or maybe I will. Who knows? But for anyone wondering, what's up, guys? This was the scene I was referring to. I just posted this on Instagram today, 11 hours ago. So this was the scene I was referring to a little bit ago when I said the scene that got me really excited with the 54 roar. Can't really see what's on screen for you guys, but I mean, I thought that scene was pretty sweet. I love the 54 roar, so I was glad to see it back. Anyways, guys, thank you all for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. Enough said. D-Man,